to GTN. This is your host, Don Ace.
Welcome to GTN Global Trending News. I'm your host, Don Ace. I'm 43 years old, which means I'm at that perfect age where my back hurts if I sleep wrong. Let's see what kind of chaos the world cooked up for us today. If you are wondering, have I changed my dress? The answer is yes. My Gacha editor is too lazy to fix it. Tonight's headline, Operation Epic Fury. First of all, who is naming these things? Because Operation Epic Fury sounds less like a military campaign and more like a Fortnite update. Bro, did you unlock the Epic Fury Battle Pass yet? Now here's what happened. The United States launched Operation Epic Fury, a massive military campaign targeting Iran's missiles, ships, and military bases. And when they say massive, they mean massive. In just a few days, thousands of targets hit. Bombers flying across continents, warships firing missiles, and apparently AI helping pick targets. Yes, the war now has artificial intelligence involved. Fantastic, because when I think global stability, the first thing I want involved is algorithms. The same technology that recommends me cat videos and conspiracy theories is now helping decide military targets. Awesome. And the name again, Operation Epic Fury. I swear military operations used to have cool names like Desert Storm, Rolling Thunder. Now they sound like energy drinks. New Epic Fury, now with extra caffeine and geopolitical tension. Meanwhile, Iran responded with missiles and drones, and tensions across the Middle East are rising fast. Which means the global situation right now is basically everyone. Let's calm down. Also, everyone, launch the drones. And here's the crazy part. Military officials say AI is helping analyze targets faster, which means somewhere there is an AI system doing war calculations while also being used to generate anime pictures, fake Drake songs, and essays for lazy college students. Now let's talk about Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Right now, the U.S. is dealing with rising tensions in the Middle East, drones flying, missiles launching, and the Pentagon basically running on caffeine and stress. And Hegseth went on TV to reassure everyone that U.S. forces are totally safe, which is exactly what you want to hear from a defense secretary. Right after the sentence, Russia might be giving intelligence to Iran. That's like your pilot saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, there's absolutely nothing to worry about, except the other plane that might be targeting us." Very comforting. But Hegseth also criticized the media for reporting casualties. Yes, apparently the real problem in war is not the war. It's journalists noticing the war. Next press conference is just going to be, reporter, "Sir, 6 soldiers were killed." Hegseth would say, "Fake news, also please stop counting." Now let's move to the other big story. Former Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, because she just got fired. Nothing says stable government like your boss firing you on social media. Imagine that happening at a normal job. You're sitting at your desk, your phone buzzes. Breaking, you have been replaced. The controversies around Noem were, let's say, a lot. There were questions about a $220 million government ad campaign featuring her. $220 million, that's not an ad campaign. That's the budget for an Avengers movie. At that price, the commercial should include explosions, helicopters, and at least one cameo from Captain America deporting villains. And if that wasn't enough, there are also investigations into whether she misled Congress about spending decisions. Nothing scares politicians more than those two terrifying words. Congressional hearing, because that's when senators start asking questions like they're in a detective movie. Secretary Noem, where were you on the night of the $220 million contract? But don't worry, she wasn't exactly fired, she was reassigned, which in politics means you're not in trouble. You're just going somewhere else where people won't notice you. It's like when a school says, "We didn't suspend the teacher, we just moved him to the basement storage room." Let's go to the next hot topic, the TikTok ban debate. Yes, right now the U.S. government is locked in a serious geopolitical battle with an app where people dance next to their refrigerator. Awesome. Here's the issue. Lawmakers say TikTok could be a national security risk because it's owned by the Chinese company ByteDance. They worry China could access data or manipulate the algorithm, which honestly is terrifying because that algorithm already controls people's lives. You watch one cooking video and suddenly your entire feed becomes Top 57 air fryer recipes. So the government said TikTok must sell its U.S. operations or possibly get banned, which sounds less like a law and more like a mafia negotiation. But creators are freaking out because millions of people now make money on TikTok. There are influencers, streamers, reviewers, and a guy whose entire job is rating sandwiches. Imagine explaining that job to your grandparents. What do you do for work? I judge bread on the internet. And here's the funniest part. Politicians say TikTok might manipulate Americans. Meanwhile, the algorithm mostly shows people dogs, cooking hacks, conspiracy theories, and a guy explaining Roman history while making pasta. If that's propaganda, honestly, it's the most delicious propaganda in history. So the debate right now is basically, government is saying national security. TikTok users are like, but my dance video has 2 million views. And somewhere in the middle, 200 million people just want to watch 30 seconds of entertainment without starting World War III. How interesting. Now let's get our attention to the biggest celebrity chaos of the week. And we start with Timothée Chalamet, because Timothée recently said something that shocked the internet. He said no one cares about ballet or opera. First of all, wow, that's a bold thing to say when your entire career involves wearing dramatic outfits and looking mysterious in slow motion. Second, I never insult ballet fans. Those people are intense. They wake up at 5 a.m., stretch for 3 hours, and can spin 14 times without falling over. You think they're afraid of a movie star? Right now, somewhere, a ballet dancer is warming up like, all right, everyone, we'll prepare the pirouettes. We ride at dawn. Now, moving to the next story, because Lady Gaga confirmed she plans to marry Michael Polanski soon, which is wonderful news, but let's be honest, this will not be a normal wedding. Normal weddings have things like flowers, a cake, a DJ playing Ed Sheeran. A Lady Gaga wedding will probably include a dress made of satellites, a piano on fire, and Elton John floating down from the ceiling like a glittery space angel. Even the wedding cake will probably have a performance. The cake won't just sit there, it will sing jazz and do choreography. Somewhere, a wedding planner is reading the schedule like, okay, 6 p.m. ceremony, 7 p.m. cake performance, 8 p.m. gravity stops working. Now, let's talk about Harry Styles. Harry just released a new album called Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally. That is an incredibly specific title, Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally. That sounds less like an album title and more like instructions from a romantic Italian uncle. Listen to me, kiss all the time, disco occasionally, eat pasta. Fans waited 4 years for this album. At that point, it's not an album release, it's an emotional reunion. Spotify servers probably saw the release date and immediately went, all right, everyone, prepare yourselves. Oh, the Styles fans are coming. And of course, fans are analyzing every lyric. You know how it works. Someone hears one line, and suddenly there's a 40-minute YouTube theory video. This lyric clearly references a coffee Harry drank in London in 2019. Relax, Sherlock. Sometimes a lyric is just about kissing at a disco. But my favorite celebrity event this week might actually be Paris Fashion Week, because stars like Kate Moss and Sofia Vergara showed up wearing outfits that immediately went viral. And I love Fashion Week because half the time the outfits look less like clothing and more like a very confident art project. You'll see someone walking down the runway wearing 3 curtains, 2 belts, and what appears to be a giant pillow. And the audience is like, yes, this represents the emotional loneliness of modern society. No, it doesn't. That's a blanket with confidence. Okay, moving on. It's trending sports news. Let's talk about the San Antonio Spurs and their alien superstar Victor Wembanyama, a.k.a. Wemby. Yes, the Spurs just pulled off a 25-point comeback win. 25 points, that's not a comeback. That's basically the basketball version of respawning in a video game. And leading the charge was Wembanyama. If you don't know him, imagine someone built a basketball player in a lab and said, make him taller, no taller, no taller. The man is basically a skyscraper that learned how to play basketball. In the last game against Detroit Pistons, he had 38 points, 16 rebounds, 5 blocks. Those aren't stats. That's a video game cheat code. Somewhere, an NBA center is looking at the stat sheet like, yeah, I'm not guarding that guy. But my favorite moment came after the comeback win. Wembanyama said it was one of the hardest games of his life. Of course it was, because when you're 7'4", every sprint down the court probably feels like running a marathon inside an airplane aisle. And the scary part? The Spurs are suddenly winning almost every game, which means the rest of the NBA is slowly realizing something terrifying. The Spurs might be good again. For 20 years, the league had to deal with Tim Duncan championships and Greg Popovich turning random players into legends. Now they have a 7-foot alien with guard skills. Fantastic, just what the NBA needed. Now switching to soccer. Because Messi is still doing messy things with Inter Miami. The man is 38 years old and still scoring like he's playing FIFA on beginner mode. Messi is also chasing multiple MLS records this season, which means defenders are once again learning the same painful lesson the world learned for 20 years. You cannot stop Messi, you can only hope he's tired. And even that doesn't work. Messi and Inter Miami even visited the White House recently to celebrate their championship. Imagine being a politician meeting Messi. You're supposed to talk about policy. But deep down, you just want to ask, can you teach me that free kick? And whenever Messi gets a foul call, half the internet immediately says, that's celebrity treatment. But let's be honest, Messi gets fouled a lot because defenders have tried everything else for 20 years, defending him normally, double-teaming him, praying nothing works. At this point, defenders are basically saying, look, the only strategy left is gravity. And that's tonight's news, folks. This week we learned a lot. First, we had Operation Epic Fury, which sounds less like a military operation and more like the name of a very aggressive energy drink. Operation Epic Fury, now with 200% more caffeine and questionable decisions. Then, the government is debating banning TikTok, which means millions of teenagers may have to go back to doing something truly terrifying, going outside. Meanwhile, celebrities are still doing what celebrities do best, being extremely rich and somehow still having more drama than high school group chats. Honestly, at this point, celebrity news isn't journalism anymore. It's basically a reality show with better lighting. But don't worry, tomorrow there will be new drama, new arguments, new trending hashtags. In 2026, the news cycle moves fast. If you blink, you might miss 3 scandals, 2 political arguments, and another billionaire buying a social media platform. So just relax. Here at GTN Gotcha Trending News, we'll always be here to explain it with jokes. I'm Don Ace. Thanks for watching. Stay informed, stay entertained, and remember, if the news gets too crazy, just turn it into content. Good night, everybody.